Micah and Jordan in the morning nights. Yeah, because we're on the main feed, and this is our first episode in the bedroom at nighttime. We have moved locations again. And yet that sound quality is still there, folks. You can hire me to edit your podcast. My name is Micah McCaw.
My name's Jordan McCaw.
And we are part of the conglomerate that's taken the world by storm in the last 5 years, the McCaw Podcast Universe.
Where we exist to prove people wrong when they say sequels are never better than the originals. That's us in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3. Now, this is like, well, there's the great show, Blank Check, which tracks the progress of directors who, once they get to a certain point, they get a blank check, and do those checks clear? Do they bounce, baby? Etc. And this is like...
We talk about Blank Check too much.
Well, this is like both Sam Raimi's, Blank Check in a way. Well, actually, no, it's kind of not.
What is his Blank Check? I'm sure they've covered him.
They have covered him.
Speak more about Blank Check.
Well, I was thinking that this is like both the blank check of the series and the director, but I actually, because of some problems we're going to talk about in the production, I would not say that he got the freedom that, Spider-Man 2 is more of a blank check.
Would you say that because of the success of Spider-Man 2, studios were a little bit more hands-on to try and ensure that they could do it again in a bad way?
Yes. Yep. We'll get into it. When I did even just a modicum of research, I was like, Sam Raimi's not to blame for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Spider-Man 3. When did this movie, when did this movie came out? It came out May 4th, 2007. And for me, I believe this was the first midnight movie I ever saw.
Cute.
And shout out to Taylor Brown. I hope you're listening. I remember... I think that was the first year she would have been at Grace.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, hey, there's that girl from my class up there.
Oh, she also went to the midnight premiere?
We were in the same showing.
Cute.
And, but I think I didn't say hello or anything. Seventh
she's the
grader.
New girl. You don't talk to the new girl.
Yeah, although it'd been like a whole year. She wasn't really new anymore. But
this, I believe I also saw this in theaters. Not midnight showing, but was very excited to see this movie.
Yeah.
And just young enough that it was still great to me. I loved it.
I loved this movie. So can I tell you about my little history with this movie?
Sure.
So this is the movie I've seen the least. I think I saw it twice in theaters. And then I think we just never bought it. So I did not see it for years and years and years. But I had heard of this reputation of it being bloated, too many villains, and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had not watched it since finding that out.
Mm-hmm.
Until the podcast before this, We All Have Tongues with Peter and Peter, where Andrew Backus and I would talk about random stuff. We covered the movie, and we had the special edition that we got for our wedding that we watched last night.
From Renee
Blu-ray.
Phelps. Renee and Alan.
Thank you. And I watched it, and I was like, you know what? My take was... Is it Spider-Man 1? No. Is it Spider-Man 2? Absolutely not. But I was like, this is better than probably 75% of current superhero movies. And then we watched it last night, and I was like, I think it's like 50% better. But it's still better than a lot. So I feel like the movie was maybe unfairly maligned, although at the time we were kind of just getting gold.
Mm-hmm.
And because
but when
of
you
the
do stack it up against Spider-Man 2, it's like, it's not even close.
No. If someone says this is their favorite, that's nuts.
Yeah.
But I feel like the movie, I actually think that now it's kind of more, people are like, yeah, I like that movie. You know, it just...
I thought Patrick Williams said that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, where no, I don't care what you say, I still think this movie's pretty good. Or on my last rewatch, I realized this is pretty good. Stuff people saying stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's a little too much creativity in it to write it off. This isn't like Black Adam or something.
No.
The problem with the movie is that there's too much going on.
Yes.
Not that people aren't trying.
There's too much going on, and I do think some characters make choices that are not true to the character, which are pretty huge problems. And
I can't wait to hear your breakdown of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we watched it last night, and I was a little bit like, this is pretty bad. But it's still watchable. It's still pretty good in a way. But I realized and remembered that the time that I watched this for We All Have Tongues with Peter and Peter, I watched the editor's cut, which came out on like the 10th anniversary, and didn't have time to watch both before we recorded. But that cut, I mean, I was pretty harsh on movies back then, and I watched that cut, and I was like, this is pretty good, but I didn't remember the differences. So I think maybe the editor's cut is better. It shaves off 2 minutes, and it cuts out a couple of scenes and extends a couple of scenes, and I think it might just flow better.
Oh, interesting.
Because this movie did kind of feel like, whoa.
Yeah. It took a long time to get started.
Yeah, so I'm curious, now that I have this in stone, my opinion here, I'm curious, once I've, it's been a couple of years to watch it again, watch the editor's cut, and feel like if it's another, like, you know what, this is good. But yeah, did you have anything else about your experience with the movie?
Nope.
Oh, and I do have to tell you my embarrassing story about the movie that I've been saving. So this was back in MySpace days.
Yeah.
And there was something like, wasn't there just like a news bulletin that you just see your friends, like what they were talking about?
Like a
right?
status?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so Dustin, he posted about the movie the next day, and he was like, Spider-Man 3 sucks. And I think he was like, too many villains, too long. It was terrible. And I commented something to the effect of, that's crazy. This movie had Venom. This movie had, this, that, and the other thing, and it had this hot new girl as Gwen Stacy. So that's something I said.
That tracks.
Which is very weird. Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
As a 7th grade boy, I guess I thought Bryce Dallas Howard was hot.
Okay.
But yeah. So I'm pulling my collar here.
Sorry, I can't help you feel better. I don't have an embarrassing story about this. Topher Grace looks weird. I don't know. What more do you want from me?
Well, that's another funny thing is I always disliked Topher Grace, and I always thought he was terrible in this. And in this watch through, I was like, I think he might be more locked in than any other actor. He's so good, and I think he's really funny. And I think I just didn't understand what he was as an actor, because he's great in this.
Yeah, I thought he was good too. I have always thought he was good though.
Yeah. I think I just didn't want to like that 70s show so much because a friend was into it, and it was like, no, I don't watch that. I watch The Office, okay? Which I still stand by.
That 70s show, like what, late 90s, 2000s?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never watched it either. And
as far as we know, up to this point, The Office still doesn't star any, pedophiles, which,
oh,
that 70s show does. So
true.
We got that.
True.
In The Office
and
corner.
I think that showed a lot of that 70s show's actors true colors, whether or not they were going to defend that person.
So, why are we talking about this when we're talking about Spider-Man?
Well, now that you brought it up, I am thinking, well, yeah, let's not talk about it. I don't care about that 70s show.
Yeah. And yeah, let's talk about Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Cut that. So it's directed by Sam Raimi, of course. The screenplay is by Sam and Ivan Raimi and Alan Sargent.
How many brothers does this guy have?
I think there's 5 siblings total.
5?
I believe so.
Wow.
I wouldn't quote me on that, though. I'm just pretty sure.
Okay.
Ivan Raimi has worked with Sam before, and he co-wrote Darkman specifically. I'm pointing that out.
We've not watched that.
You have not watched it. I have. It's a good movie.
Oh, that's the one with Jeff Bridges.
That is the one with Liam Neeson. You're thinking of Starman, directed by John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Darkman, I remember watching that and being like, oh, this is how he got hired for Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like,
because it's kind of a superhero thing. Okay.
Really fun movie. Would recommend anyone who's listening to
Unbreakable.
This. Well, Unbreakable.
No, not like what's better, just like because they both. I've not seen Darkman, but Unbreakable is like superhero comic book thing, but original.
Yeah, Darkman is more like Darkman's more Sin City, Daredevil, and kind of goofy in a Sam Raimi way that's very fun.
Right.
Whereas, Unbreakable's like, what if this was real?
Yeah.
Like, truly, what if this was real? Yeah. So, and then also on the screenplay duties is Alvin Sargent, who was the screenwriter for Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
One of anyway. The cinematography, we have Bill Pope. The music is by Christopher Young, who we did talk about in our Ghost Rider episode on Patreon.
So him and Danny still on the outs?
Yeah, so they got on the outs after Spider-Man 2.
Oh, but we mentioned when they got back together.
Yeah, which was, I think, Oz the Great and Powerful.
Oh, okay.
Might be getting that wrong, though.
Okay. Wow, James Franco's with him for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, Christopher Young has done Ghost Rider, Drag Me to Hell, and Sinister, to name a few.
Okay.
Sinister, scary movie.
I want to watch it again.
I don't know if I can.
I did not have the same, not even close to a same reaction that you had.
Oh my gosh.
On that movie. It really got to you. And I was like, I don't know. It was good. It was really good, but I
think that movie actually has scientifically been proven as the scariest movie. What
does that mean?
Well, they got a ton of people hooked up to equipment that monitored their heart rate and stuff like that.
I need to watch it again. What context did we watch it in? Where did we watch it?
We watched it at our apartment just one night. It was that movie was creepy.
I don't know
that
why
really
it did
got
not,
under my skin.
It did not get to me. I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's hard. Ethan Hawke's in it.
Oh, yeah, I know. Come on. Okay, so this movie has a $258 million budget.
Eesh. Wow.
Huge. It makes $337 million in the U.S. and $895.9 worldwide. Now, I think it's worth pointing out, this is interesting, and I actually think they pointed it out on Blank Check as well, so I'm regurgitating a little bit here. But you have Spider-Man 3 out this year, Shrek the Third out this year, and Pirates of the Caribbean 3 out this year, and The Bourne Ultimatum, which is the third one, out this year. And all of those movies, except for The Bourne Ultimatum, were considered, they all did really well, but were considered the worst.
It is the worst Shrek movie.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
But all three of those are just this was the worst version of what we loved about those things. Except for Bourne Ultimatum. I believe the consensus is right. That's the best one.
Oh, okay. And then,
yeah,
for me with Pirates, which I know we've covered, I remember pretty much liking it when I saw it in theaters, but also I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
It's got to be a really bad movie for me to not like a movie at that age.
Yeah.
But when we rewatched it, it was no, this movie's actually pretty good.
And for me, it was the opposite. I remember being in theaters and being like, oh, you can dislike movies? This sucks.
Yeah.
And then watching it again and being like, okay, this rocks.
Yeah.
I had to really eat some...
You ate crow.
Eat crow, yeah. Which my sister was happy to provide, as she has always been a diehard Pirates 3 fan. And she was right. You were right. So, let's talk about how this movie was made. So, here's the breakdown as we continue on. I just want you to know that Raimi was always interested in Sandman, Harry, Mary, and Peter. That was what the movie he wanted to make. Because everything else is additional that he is kind of mandated to do. That was the movie he intended to make. But at one point they were talking about having a second villain, which would have been the Vulture, played by Ben Kingsley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting casting.
Yeah, no, that works for me. But Avi Arad, who is the producer, he thinks that Raimi, he's like, you choose your favorite villains. And which I feel like is such a weird to
base your movie on that.
Well, it's weird that he comes at him and he's like, I don't think it's very fair. You're choosing your favorite villains, and you need to choose something that kids are actually into, which is Venom. You need to include Venom in this movie.
Okay.
And eventually he relents and he's like, okay, we'll include Venom.
Okay.
And then he's like, and also you need to include Gwen and add this love triangle.
Because everyone loves that.
Yeah. And so he does that, and soon Alan Sargent is working on these scripts, and he's getting so much extra characters that he just can't like balance it all out.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of why this movie doesn't work. I mean, that's why it doesn't work, and it's because it was like producers meddling. So another thing, I don't know. This is complete conjecture on my part, but we have a lot more visual effects in this movie, but they also don't look as good. But I think that might just be a case of biting off more than you can chew and trying to push the boundaries.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the last one was so successful, they do have more money for this one, then they're going to push it a little bit more. And try to go a little bit crazier with, like, especially the Harry and Peter scene at the beginning. They're just really trying something, looks real bad.
Yeah, especially now. I think at the time,
the optimistic part of me is like, they were just really going for it.
Right. But I think it is worth noting that John Dykstra, who was the lead supervisor
of FX,
of 1 and 2, didn't work on this movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
But one of his colleagues, Scott Stockdike, stepped up and did it. So that may not be the problem. And there's also like some pretty amazing effects in this movie. Like the symbiote, I think, is crazy how good it looks.
Sandman looks good too.
Oh, yeah, especially when he forms the first time, it's insane. So yeah, we have all that. Something that's fun is the famous shot where Spider-Man punches through Sandman. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Remember when he's in the vault with him, he attacks him the first time, he punches him, and he goes all the way through.
Yeah.
They had an amputee shoot that so that he could like punch him like normal and look normal, but then they would just like put the arm through the other side.
Whoa.
Yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah.
In 2014, Sam Raimi said that this movie is awful. In 2018, Avi Arad took responsibility for adding Venom and is like, it was my fault.
Okay.
And then going back to this, there was a plan that they would make Spider-Man 4, and then they would follow that up with a Venom movie starring Topher Grace. That did not come into fruition.
Okay.
I
think Topher Grace was good in this movie. I am not necessarily a Topher Grace fan, so I wouldn't want to see a whole movie about
supporting a whole movie. No.
He does not have the chops.
Well, and even just like the way they set up this character, I feel like no. And then do you remember the Sony hacks? When someone hacked in and they released all this stuff. So there was leaked information that prior to the cancellation of the future Amazing Spider-Man films, Sony was in talks with Raimi. So after they had made Amazing Spider-Man, those two movies, they had Sam Raimi in talks to direct a Spider-Man versus the Amazing Spider-Man movie.
Oh, gosh.
And
get
it would
out of here with that.
Well, here's what's funny, though. It would have been a multiversal crossover film featuring Garfield's Spider-Man and counting Tobey Maguire's.
Wait. Garfield's in this movie? I'm back in.
And then there would be a new trilogy of Maguire movies following Garfield's firing as a middle-aged Spider-Man years after the events of Spider-Man 3. Of course, we did get Homecoming. Or No Way Home, which kind of takes those ideas and furthers them.
Okay.
So that's...
Yeah, let's contain it to a movie.
Yeah.
I don't want that much.
Yeah. Well, it would have just been one movie and then
I guess that's true.
Tobey Maguire. It's just interesting that they were already throwing that out like
before,
a
Spider-Verse thing?
Yeah, before we were even like there yet.
Yeah.
And then I have some notes on what would have been Spider-Man 4, but I think maybe we'll hit some actors.
So Topher Grace, as previously mentioned, he plays Venom and Eddie Brock. He is that 70s show, of course, is what we said. He's also in Traffic, apparently, in Good Company.
And which one's Traffic? That's not the one that won Best Picture?
That's the one I couldn't finish.
Okay.
It is. This is Steven Soderbergh movie, and it looked bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It looked bad.
Yeah.
Maybe I should give it a shot again. Of course, Steven Soderbergh, love him, but My goodness, that movie looks so bad.
That's tough. It's tough when you don't like how it looks.
And then he's a sitcom guy, but been in a lot. Thomas Hayden Church plays Sandman and Flint Marco.
Yep,
Whoops.
yep. He's of course Lyle from George of the Jungle.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's also in Sideways. We should watch that sometime.
He got a Oscar nomination for that movie.
Didn't Paul Giamatti?
Yeah, I think so.
And the script and the
Yeah, that's Alexander Payne. Yeah, we need to watch that.
Yeah, we should. At work we publish this author. We've published many more Sideways books.
Oh, like Upright.
No, like
Upside
Sideways
Down.
Oregon, Sideways New Zealand, Sideways Brazil. Just going to different wine countries. Because it's about wine.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you knew that. It's like slice of life, I think.
Sideways, there's something about that title that makes me feel like it's a movie where someone's going to get shot over heroin.
No, this is just about two middle-aged men.
Oh, okay.
Going through life and drinking wine.
Doesn't
that sound nice?
It sounds like what I do.
We should watch that soon.
Yeah.
He's also in No Way Home. He's in Horizon, Twisted Metal, Fired on Mars, Accidental Texan. He is in so much. Actually, let's see how many.
Wait, he was in No Way Home. Okay, because I don't think they ever showed his face, so I was always kind of wondering if he actually was in it.
That was him.
Okay.
He's in so much.
Yeah. He's interesting. I likened him. I actually haven't seen that much of him, but his performance in this movie.
I think he's great in this movie. Yeah,
I wouldn't say that he's. I don't know that he is given enough time on the screen to do stuff.
I absolutely agree with that.
But he's a strong flavor to me. You know what I mean?
He's great. I've seen him in a lot, and he is in some of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah.
And I just kind of feel like he's
George of the Jungle 2.
Well, I said worst movies ever made. But he's just got such a weird career.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like he'll be in anything.
Yeah.
We've covered Bryce Dallas Howard before, of course.
Yeah.
So really that
leaves
us.
She's so hot.
Let's give a shout out to James Cromwell, Captain Stacy.
Yes, Babe himself.
He is a Roy.
Yep.
From Succession. He's also in The Green Mile, LA Confidential.
Remember
Babe?
at the funeral when he was like, he's basically like, this life was a waste of a life.
Yeah.
But then he started crying, I think.
And then Roman got up there and couldn't do it. And then he said, is he actually in there?
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy.
Gotta rewatch that season again.
Yeah. But that's, the girl, his daughter, Perla Haney Jardine or Hardine, probably Hardine. She's the kid in Kill Bill, too.
Of Kill Bill? Of Bill, I mean? Like Bill and their daughter?
Yeah,
okay.
That's the little girl.
Oh, okay.
Remember
cool.
I said she looked familiar? She's also the girl, or she's not, I don't think she's, no, I just think she is. She's in Steve Jobs.
Oh, like
she's the daughter.
Teenage at that point?
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
And she's in not Dark Waters, just Dark Water.
Oh, you can't do that, folks. You can't have a plural and a singular and they're not connected. That's not fair.
But yeah, I think that about covers it.
Okay, so let me tell you about...
she's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh.
She's one of the hippies.
Oh. Cool. Well, let me tell you about an interesting story, which is they had every intention of making a Spider-Man 4 movie.
Okay.
So this was not like, this came out, it didn't do the best critically, and they were just like, shut it down. They were fully going ahead. We're talking pre-production. They had this thing going. So, let's see. So, let me see. I already mentioned that. Vulture was going to be the bad guy, and John Malkovich was cast as Vulture.
Fun.
Cool, like that. And they kind of updated him. He was like a contract hire by the government, and he left only bones of his victims. That's why they call him the Vulture. So that's kind of fun. This movie also would have included Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat.
Okay.
Played by Anne Hathaway.
What?
Which is interesting because she'll go on to play Catwoman.
That's interesting.
Similar. And so the movie would have started with this big long montage or somewhere at the beginning where he would have kind of gone through like his rogues gallery, like you know, knocking them out, and Bruce Campbell would have been Mysterio in a couple of scenes. So you would have seen Mysterio, Shocker, Prowler, Stiltman, and Rhino.
That is so much.
Yeah, but it was like a montage, like he's just capturing them.
Got it.
This is what Spider-Man's been up to. That was not the villains. And also like Sam Raimi, his intent was like, he was basically like, we failed on Spider-Man 3, and I don't want to end on that note. We're gonna make the best Spider-Man movie we can, and then we're gonna say that we're done. So then at some point, Spider-Man would accidentally kill the Vulture.
Okay.
And then Felicia sees that, and in this version, which is not the comic book, she is his daughter. And then she would
Vulture's
become
daughter?
Yeah, then she would become the Vulture.
Okay.
And so that's what happened, but he hated the script, Raimi, and he had 4 writers take a crack at it, and he just kept rejecting it. And then Amy Pascal wanted them to shoot 2 movies at one time. Yikes. So it'd be Spider-Man 4, Spider-Man 5.
He's like, I just want to end on a high note. See if I can even do that.
Yeah. And then so now they're talking about that, and they're doing, okay, so maybe the 5th movie will have the Lizard in it. And then we have the Vulture movie at 4. And then the news comes out about John Malkovich and the Vulture, and I guess fans are vocal about like, no, the Vulture sucks, which is incorrect, obviously. And, John Malkovich would not be good. And so Sony's like, I don't know about this. And they're also saying, so they meddled in 3, and they're like, here's what we need to keep doing is keep meddling. Because then they say, hey, 3D is so hot right now. And Avatar has come out. You need to make this in 3D. Sam Raimi's like, I'm not familiar with this technology. I think he does Oz the Great and Powerful in 3D, but he's still not like at this point, he doesn't know. So they're also not moving the deadline for him to explore how to use.
Oh, that's pretty huge.
I mean,
everyone's seen The Hobbit.
Yeah. So this movie's going for like a 2011 release, I think, and they're not budging on that. And so eventually they're he's like, I don't want to do this. And he steps away from the movie. And days after he steps away, Andrew Garfield is announced, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 is in production. They had already been prepping the Amazing Spider-Man
without him
behind
knowing.
His back.
So they basically were forcing him to quit. Without just saying.
I think they were probably just seeing like maybe this is falling apart. We're gonna work on another Spider-Man.
I don't like
movie.
that. That's
messed
shady. Question: when stuff like this happens, where he's working on pre-production and stuff, for so long, like he gets paid something, right?
Yeah, you get paid.
Like he's like working on it,
but he's not gonna get like his contract, like
the full amount as if
let's say he gets $5 million. He's probably getting paid, a small percentage of that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming, because I don't think otherwise, I think studios would fire directors all the time just so that they didn't have to pay them.
I just been wondering how they're protected. So
yeah. But yeah, so I think they were just trying to prep both to see what would happen, and that one's falling apart. They're like, okay, let's push this.
That's not good.
Yeah. And then of course, then we have the Amazing Spider-Man movies, those 2, and then that leads into Spider-Man: Homecoming. But it's pretty much been a constant. There, even the years off from Spider-Man, it's been like Spider-Man is in the works, And I will say, after Doctor Strange,
Amazing Spider-Man came out when?
I think 2012. I want to say.
Really?
I think it was 2012.
Huh. I did not see it in theaters. I did not care. I was like, that's not my Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then eventually I saw the first one and was like, yeah, that's okay. And I never saw the second one.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man is that's interesting. On IMDb it says it follows Spider-Man 3. That's not true. This is a different series. Yeah, so it came out in 2012, and then the sequel came out in 2014. Oh, I guess they're including that because, they have it listed as a series as Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, the 2 Amazing Spider-Mans, and then No Way Home because the characters all converge.
Okay.
I guess that makes sense. That's a little convoluted. But here's something interesting. I know we have our nice resolution in a way of like what happened to this Peter Parker in the No Way Home movie, but Raimi has said in real life, in interviews, like people have like, how was your Doctor Strange experience and stuff? And he's like, it was great. It was fun to work on that stuff again. I would imagine he feels a little bit of redemption for having such a huge hit.
Great movie.
It's a great movie.
Real great movie.
And people's complaints with it are dumb complaints.
Yeah.
The ones I've heard anyway. But he has said he would be interested in making Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire if that were to come. Which would be cool. But he has clarified, because that, of course, blew up the internet, and he did clarify,
there are no plans.
We are not in talks to do this. But he did say, like, with all the multiverse stuff and what's going on, like, it could make sense, and I think audiences would be fine with that. That would be cool.
Maybe that's just what the MCU needs.
Needs a little Toby and a little, although, you know who I don't think you could get, I don't think Kirsten Dunst would come back.
No. And I hate stuff like that, when they have to explain that away.
Yeah, because it's like, it would be a divorce situation, I'm sure, which means it'd be the same as Spider-Verse when he gets divorced, so, but I would love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little scary too. I don't know, but he still got the juice. Doctor Strange rocked.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, so that's all my notes on Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
You got anything else before we jump into the plot?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so the movie begins, and we have a much cheesier catch-up with Spider-Man.
In the opening credits.
Yeah, but I was trying to give the movie some credit, and we are in kind of a dreamier world.
Mm-hmm.
This is the point in Spidey's life where
everything is going right. The first two movies started with how everything just kind of goes wrong for Peter.
Yeah. So this is kind of flipping it on its head. So it is dreamier. Everything's going well,
I do like that, to get past the opening credits.
Yeah.
But I do like that everything is going well for him.
Yeah. It does set it up nicely for the symbiote situation. Basically, and I think it's pretty clear that I think it should have been a symbiote movie or a Sandman movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe just Sandman and symbiote, and then a Venom in a next movie. Because
what would a symbiote do? Oh, like just setting up the next movie?
Yeah, he's got the black costume and stuff. So
here's a question.
Yeah, I'm ready. You're going to ask about the symbiote.
Read the comics.
Yeah,
I have not.
I'm prepared for this.
I'm familiar enough with Venom to know that it's an alien thing.
Yeah.
Is it annoying that it just falls from the sky, attaches itself to Peter, and then that's that? We don't get much more like story with it? Is that annoying? Because as an outsider, it at a certain point, I think like, so what is going on here?
Yeah. So
other than it looks cool.
Can I give you the symbiote history? I think the fans might be interested who haven't read.
Do it for the fans.
Okay, so back in the 80s, I believe, Marvel was with a toy company or owned by a toy company or something like that, and they wanted to make a bunch of action figures, and they really wanted to sell well, so they decided to do something called a crossover event. Unfortunately, we're now plagued with crossover events.
Was that the first time?
I think that was the first really big one, at least in Marvel. There might have been DC predating it, but the idea was it was called Secret Wars. Eventually, there was supposed to be a Secret Wars Avengers movie. Avengers either 4 or 5 is supposed to be Secret Wars, which concerns me hugely. And the idea was there was this character named the Beyonder, and he took all the heroes from... and again, I just want to stress, they made this whole thing up because of selling toys. Mm-hmm. But good things have come out of selling toys. So... all the heroes are taken out of their regularly scheduled monthly magazine and are taken to a planet, just like that. So you're reading the comic, and it would show like Spider-Man disappeared, And then the next issue of Amazing Spider-Man would be like, wow, that whole thing with the Beyonder and Secret Wars was pretty crazy, right? So you had to buy the magazine. And so the idea was it was heroes and villains were taken up there, and they fought on this planet.
Did this being do it for sport?
I actually don't remember what the motive was. It's not very good.
Sounds like Coliseum.
Yeah, but it's not good. It kind of sucks, I would say.
So does Venom show up here?
No. So here's what happens. Spider-Man is fighting or something like that, and his costume gets ruined. He walks into like a lab that's on this planet that they don't know where they are. And he's like, oh, cool. I think I can make a costume here. And he like presses a button, and then this costume comes down. Now, they're really doing this because they want to sell a black suit Spider-Man action figure.
Mm-hmm.
But they do that. And then he gets back in his regularly scheduled monthly magazine, and that was it. He just had a black costume. That was
one thing.
And it just was like, it would like change shape and stuff like that. That's it.
He would change shape? Like shape shifting?
Like it would latch onto him it does in the movie. So that was it. And it looked really striking, which is, it's really insane because the Spider-Man design by Steve Ditko is like the best superhero
but it's new
design.
And it's different. That's all you need sometimes.
Well, it's just crazy because like the black suit Spider-Man is one of the also one of the most famous. It's just crazy that he has like two of the most famous like looks.
Mm-hmm.
And so then for months, maybe even years, he's just in the black costume.
Oh.
And then someone came up with this idea, which they hint on in this movie, but if they really went all the way, I think you actually could do something cool. So like the origin of it is really kind of dumb, and this is just an example of why comics are cool. Someone can come up with this stupid idea, and then later someone can go, that gives me an idea, and make something great.
Yeah.
So it does. To answer your original question, it doesn't bother me. This is how this happens. If they were to ever introduce the black costume now, it would be cool if they thought it through a little bit more and made it more exciting.
Well, what did they say in the Venom movie?
I don't remember.
And who was Tom Hardy?
Is he
just some guy?
No, he's Eddie Brock. He's the same character.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke about who, like Tom Hardy.
Who is he, though?
Yeah. But what they did in the comics then is they come up with this idea that, like, Peter all of a sudden is, like, tired all the time, and he doesn't know why. And at nighttime, like, he's going out on adventures, and he's being more, like, aggressive.
But he doesn't know that he is?
He's asleep the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And reading those issues is really fun because, especially when you don't know it, it's like, what is happening?
Is he still fighting crime?
He's still fighting crime, but he's being more aggressive about it. And he's not being very Spider-Man-like.
Okay.
And then it's causing him to, like, lose battles in the day and stuff like that. So then eventually he figures out through the church bells to get rid of the symbiote.
Oh, so that's in the comics.
Yeah, and then Eddie... I think it's kind of a similar setup where Eddie's
falls
there.
on him.
Yeah, and
accidentally he gets it.
Yeah, and it's like Peter Parker's true nature is to be helpful and a good guy, and Eddie's true nature is to not be that. So then,
which I think they show that in this movie, but
yeah. So then,
but it's the symbiote coming down here. Like, is it a sentient enough thing that it knew that it wanted to come down here and do something? And I know this, I don't necessarily need
in the movie.
Yeah, but yeah. Like, does that bother you? Or you just like whatever?
No, I mean, I think it's a simple idea of like it's just a thing that can think to some degree that is just trying to survive. Like if it doesn't have a host, it dies.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
That's
and
how
they do
I look
explain
at
that
it.
in this movie.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so all of
I
that
guess
happens, and then
go ahead.
Venom is created, and he's one of the most popular villains ever, all because of a stupid like toy company.
That's interesting.
Pretty
but is
interesting.
He straight up a villain or some kind of anti-hero?
He's an anti-hero.
Is it one of those things where Eddie Brock, let's get to the Tom Hardy one.
Yeah.
Where he is a gray area person, but he knows what's good and bad.
Yeah.
And he'll do things. He's like a dirty cop, but he's still a cop. He's still fighting crime. But at the end of the day is like, no, we need to do this for good.
Yeah.
To help people or to save that person.
Yeah, it's totally that.
Okay.
And Venom has gone through a lot of iterations by now, and sometimes he's a lot better, sometimes he's a lot worse,
Yeah.
all of those things. Different hosts have Venom, stuff like that. Which is how like Carnage is created and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Who plays Carnage?
Woody Harrelson.
That's right.
And they give him that little curly red wig in that movie.
I don't know if I think I've seen it.
I just remember seeing the trailers and being like, "Whoa, that's crazy."
Yeah.
But a fun thing that they don't really get into this movie because there's not enough time, but it's really fun when you're reading the comics because when Venom attacks him, he doesn't have spider sense. Because it's like, it's like shared the host and it's able to counteract his spider sense. So when he first starts fighting Venom, he's just like pulverized because he can't like dodge anything. He doesn't know where he's coming from, and if Venom like sneak attacks him.
Why don't his spider senses work?
Because it's the same host and it counteracts it or something.
And are you saying
like that.
When it's attached, when it's on him?
When he's fighting Venom, he has to just rely on like regular old sight and stuff because the spider sense doesn't warn him. So that's fun.
Okay.
They don't do that in the movie.
Yeah.
They can't. There's not enough time. So that's the little spiel there. I kind of thought you would ask about it, and I was excited to tell. I do remember when I was a kid and I first started reading Spider-Man, obsession. I have to read in order. But Venom doesn't come, like, he doesn't premiere until I think the late 80s. You got to read like 20 years of comics to get there. And I don't know that I ever got to him that first time I listened or read the comics. And I like always wanted to get to him. And then when I reread again, I got it.
So has it been confirmed or not if that movie Life is a Venom movie?
It was planned that way.
It was.
It was planned that way, that at the end of the movie, it's like that was the symbiote. I think the filmmakers have confirmed that, but the studio didn't allow them to do that.
Why?
I don't know.
It's cool. That movie's scary, dude.
I wouldn't say it's scary. It's fun.
Well, it really... No. It's fun for sure,
Yeah.
but it's a great sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
But it really freaks me out at the end of the movie when he crash lands,
and they're like,
and
no,
you see just
open
the
it.
window inside, what's happening to him.
Yeah,
and he's screaming at them, "Don't open it!" Oh, it's that freaked me out so much.
One of the last good Ryan Reynolds movies.
Yeah, and it gave us some pretty great interviews between him and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Maybe the last Ryan Reynolds good movie ever. We'll see. See if he ever recovers. By the time this episode comes out, no, Deadpool won't be out yet, but we're getting close. So let's see. I wrote he runs into Harry, and then I wrote symbiote cool movement. I don't remember the running into Harry, but he runs into Harry at the beginning, and I think he's giving the cold shoulder.
It's going through how everything's going well for Peter.
Yeah.
He is being Spider-Man. He's still in class, doing well in school.
There's some blonde-headed girl there.
Yeah, it's funny that people are spitting spit wads at him.
In college.
This is college, and they're still picking on him. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, Gwen Stacy's there. I do not remember it. By the time I'd watched this movie, even on a rewatch, did not know who Gwen Stacy was.
Yeah.
So it's just whatever, Bryce Dallas Howard's in this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the love triangle. There was a lot I did not remember about this movie.
Yeah.
But he goes to MJ's
play,
and he sits in the front row. It's opening night.
Yeah.
It goes well.
He's managing life.
He is managing life, and they're at a park looking at the stars. It's very sweet, and then the symbiote crash lands and attaches itself to it hitches a ride with them, unbeknownst to them.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to Flint Marko, who is the Sandman, and he's escaped from prison or something like that. Yeah, no, definitely. And he's running around. He goes into a house. We find out he has a sick daughter, and that's what he needs to get money for. And his motivation and stuff is cool. Comic book wise, he's just a guy.
It's classic. He's a petty criminal.
Yeah,
but I like to help his daughter,
which is added, and I like that addition.
Oh, is that added?
Yeah, in the comics, he's just I need to get money bags.
Okay,
that's kind of it.
I love that I'm assuming because we've read some Sandman, right? When we were reading to Talia.
Yep.
I love that he still wears the outfit.
Oh, in this movie,
I love
it
that
makes
so
me so
much.
happy.
And
he goes home to get his green striped shirt so he can look like the Steve Ditko. I love it.
kind of potentially think he's MVP for me.
Really?
Performance.
Wow. Okay.
I think he is really locked in, and he's barely given any room to do anything. Not room. He's barely given any time to do anything. And I think he really utilizes his time, and I think he's great in this movie.
That is fascinating.
And I think part of it for me, it's just a classic villain, sympathize with villain story.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just needing that after going through all the Marvel stuff. You know, it's not some cosmic thing. It's just a guy trying to help his daughter.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it for me. But I do think his performance is really good.
That's interesting. I think we'll just have to put it in the disagree zone. I wouldn't say he's bad at all. To me, he brings like nothing to the role.
Okay.
Like there's nothing that
part of that. Do you think that was time?
I think a lot of it is time.
Yeah.
I'd say 60% of it is time, but also.
But that's why I think in the time that he is given, I think he does well.
Well,
I know you're not saying he does bad.
No. But I also read Ebert's review of this movie.
He didn't like him.
Well, he just pointed out the difference between he's like when I was watching Spider-Man 2 and Alfred Molina is doing stuff.
Well, you can't compare it to that. I mean, you can, you should, but
no, he's just saying like when Alfred Molina is in the fights and everything, like I know everything he's thinking. Yeah. I know his motivation and everything. And he's like, in this movie, I have none of that with Sandman. And,
I would agree with that.
And when I read that, I was like,
yeah,
I think that's true.
But part of that though, and that goes to the movie being poorly written.
Yeah.
Is we're not like given time to see that. We're not given. They don't take the time.
Yeah.
To show that and how it would affect how he fights or something.
Yeah. But again, I just want to stress that I don't hold the makers of this movie responsible for this stuff. And it is a lot better than a lot of superhero movies. When I'm criticizing this, I am criticizing the producers. It's their fault. Because this is the movie.
They've even said as much.
Yeah. The thing I will criticize, if we can just talk about this, is I would say hate is the word I would use. I hate that Sandman is involved in the killing of Uncle Ben.
Oh, I hate that too. I hate stuff like that. I hate retcon.
I hate that.
The biggest moment in Peter Parker's life.
Yeah.
And he was wrong about it. Like I don't know. It's like we've taken everything we can from that well. Let's see how we can develop his character in another big way. That's not the one moment in his life that changed him.
Yeah.
Let's add other moments.
Yeah. And he doesn't even. How does Sandman get defeated? Doesn't Harry just like blow him up?
I think so.
And so, like, to me, I was remembering that at the end of the movie, maybe he goes, you know what? I took revenge, even though I didn't technically kill the burglar. I took revenge on the burglar, and now's my chance to make up for that by letting the real killer live. But they don't even do that, which would have been a little more poetic. But yeah, I just hate it. It kind of takes away from Spider-Man's moment. Mm-hmm. It takes away from the relationship with Ben. It's a really like lazy way to get Uncle Ben back in this movie for a second.
My gosh, we don't need to like, I don't know. You didn't need to entice people with something like this.
Yeah,
you know, people were going to see the movie. Yeah, I don't know.
So like on that front, I know that if this was the story they were going to tell, I imagine that was probably still in the movie, even the good version, because you know he wanted to make the movie about Sandman. Yeah. So it's almost like there's a potential that I would like this movie even less if it was the Raimi version, if that was stressed even more, because I just hate that so much. I just think there's something kind of important about it being just like a petty criminal and not someone important and crazy. All right, so moving on. We have a nice little scene with Aunt May. I think it's her only scene in the movie, right?
Are you serious?
I mean,
she comes back to Peter's apartment later.
Okay. This is a disappointment.
But wow,
she's
right.
not really used in this movie.
This scene is so cute.
This scene is cute, but it's a bummer to have Aunt May like so sidelined.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, but yeah, go ahead and talk about this scene.
Peter comes to her and says he wants to ask Mary Jane to marry him. and she's so excited for him.
Yeah.
And tells him how Uncle Ben proposed. So sweet that like she said no the first time.
Yeah.
And then she explained how he proposed again when they were ready.
Mm-hmm.
So cute. And then she says, and so you have my blessing.
Yeah.
And that I think that's so cute.
And she gives him her ring.
Gives him her ring.
Which is very cute and very nice.
Yeah.
But
she says something to him like, you know when you're ready to put that person before you, before everything.
Yeah.
And before you.
Yeah.
And Peter thinks he's ready for that, but that's kind of what this movie is he's not ready for that.
Right. So we have that, and then he's just like walking home, and he is attacked by Harry Osborn as the new BMX extreme sports goblin.
I hate that it's a hoverboard skateboard. It's lame. It's not as cool as the whatever it's called.
Just the goblin gear and mask.
No, but what's
stuff.
the thing he rides on?
Oh, the hang glider.
Okay.
Yeah. This is tough, and it's for a couple reasons. This movie makes a mistake that somehow superhero movies make like somewhat often, and it's a very simple mistake, which is we're gonna have our hero not fight in their cool, colorful costume that we like to see them fight in.
Oh, yeah.
He's just in a suit the whole fight. That's a huge mistake.
Yeah, you could have easily done it where he is coming back. He left Aunt May's.
Yeah.
There's a crime happening. Turns into Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then is ambushed by
or
Green
even
Goblin.
like his clothes get like blown off and maybe just his face is there, but like he's in
Here's
the
my issue.
Spidey outfit.
It's the third movie. Can we just be done with the Green Goblin, please? How did the last one end with him? I can't remember.
It ended with him finding the goblin serum and looking at the hang glider and seeing all the pumpkin bombs. You have to do something with it.
I know, but gosh. I mean, I guess they also didn't want to do anything either. They gave him memory loss.
Yeah, classic goblin staple.
I hate
Yeah, there's a way to do it that's exciting. I just don't know what it is. I
haven't seen it done. Give me an example of it being used well. Memory loss. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, no. I'm saying there's a way to do this Harry storyline that's really satisfying.
Yeah.
It's
just the same. I don't know. It's the third movie, and it's just like, we get it. You're still upset over your dad's death,
but it's set up so perfectly. You can't not do anything with it.
I know.
So they had to do something, but I think there's again.
I almost wish though
too many cooks.
I like save this stuff for later in the movie.
Yeah.
Not right away, and then you just get rid of it for most of the movie, and then you bring them back when it counts.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, later in the movie with all the Sandman stuff, like it's tough and everything, and he's still just a small petty criminal guy, but like he's very powerful, and Spider-Man doesn't really know what to do about this.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Green Goblin is back.
Yeah.
And you don't have Venom.
Yeah, I think the way to do this is you would have to dedicate a lot of time to making it the kind of movie that people walk out and they say, that was really a movie about Harry, not Spider-Man.
Yes.
That's kind of, and you have to make it like training montage. Like he is like, I'm going to go up against Spider-Man,
That too.
Stabbing the letter opener to the picture and doing push-ups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is Franco capable of that? Judging by this movie, I don't think so. This is one of the most outlandish performances I've ever
really
seen
bad.
in my life.
He is.
I forgot to look up.
He's on something while he's doing this.
I wanted to look up if he was like maybe
abusing
going through
something?
like a drug problem or something because.
But this scene, looks really bad.
Oh wait, I wrote Harry Osborn drug addiction.
It feels like they're trying to push the boundaries with effects. I'm trying to be optimistic and give him a little bit of credit for that. Of why it was just aged poorly. I do think it's still in a way kind of interesting. The action, it's really tight and cramped where they're fighting. I like that.
Yeah, that's fun.
But that's kind of about it.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm finding out a lot of things about Franco that were different than I thought.
Something. Well,
like yeah,
we already know a lot. about Franco.
Yeah, let me just try and find one more little thing. I'm sorry to derail us here, but I'm interested. Major. I'm on sheknows.com. So
She knows.
This is an article called "All the Celebrities Who Have Struggled with Drug or Alcohol Addiction."
Boy.
That seems to be
unfair.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look at that. But he really looked like he was like an alcoholic in this movie, and
popping pills. I don't know, cocaine.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But
it's
such a manic performance.
You had mentioned that, and I said, but Micah, he is on a road. I don't know. I've never looked up his timeline, but he is on a road to grooming, and is probably already doing it.
Yeah.
So let's not be too shocked.
No. I just it's kind of crazy because sometimes you will see like a movie and then you'll find out later the main character or like the actor has said that they didn't even know they filmed that movie.
Yeah.
There's a few movies like that, and you watch them, and like to me, I don't always see that.
Yeah.
I almost never see it, and so watching this movie, I was like, "There's something beyond him just acting weird in these scenes."
Yeah,
is how I felt.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe that's just rude, but it's okay.
But yeah, it's not great, and then he falls and hits his head, and Peter brings him to the hospital. And Harry has brain damage.
Yeah, he's got amnesia.
He's got memory loss, no short-term memory, and it's such weak writing.
Yeah. It is. I'm not giving him a pass because I don't think they should have done this as well, but it is classic like comic book stuff.
Doesn't make that right.
It doesn't
and
make it right.
I think that's weak writing. If I was reading a comic book and that happened, I would say also that that's weak writing.
Yeah.
Even if I know that you have hundreds and thousands of issues of one character. I get it. It sucks.
Yeah. So then Sandman is like off. He's still running from the police, and he falls into like a molecular testing center or something like that. And there's this hilarious line that
Do we know what they're testing?
No.
Okay.
And they do this thing. He falls into this pit, and then someone's like, "Hey, there's something inside there," and the guy's like, "It's probably a bird," and they just run the
fly
test.
Out. And it's like, won't that compromise your whole test?
Yeah.
I do like this scene. I think it's cool.
It is cool. Yeah.
How it goes inside his body, comes back out, and he disappears into the sand.
Yeah, I think they do a pretty good job because it's tough balancing realism and fantasy. And I don't feel that Sandman is super out of place in this world. It's a little over the edge because
had octopus arms in the last one.
But Goblin
I know it's very techy, but
yeah, Goblin and Octopus are very techy.
Yeah.
And Sandman's, I could see someone arguing it's a bridge too far, but I think it works. I think the symbiote's maybe more of a bridge.
I was going to say that the symbiote thing is way a bridge too far or farther.
Yeah.
I think like me as a kid, me younger, not knowing nothing about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I still liked this movie.
But you're like, this guy shoots sand. What more do I need to know? If I was
more critical, I would be like, what is this black goop and why is it on Spider-Man and then why is it on that guy? Like, what is it doing? What does it want? And then the movie ends and we don't know. And it's like, I hated that.
Yeah.
That's it.
So he gets formed, and there's a pretty great sequence that still looks great where he's forming.
Yeah, coming back into himself.
And the key to that scene is him falling apart and then coming back again. Yeah.
And grabbing the locket.
Yeah. And it falls through for the first time.
And like learning how to control this.
Yeah.
I think that's what could have enhanced the fights. Because by the time he's fighting, like Spider-Man, he seems to be in full command of himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just turned into a sand thing.
I know.
Shouldn't you struggle a little bit more with it, like your limitations and finding that out?
Well, and like, because he fights him twice, right? No, 3 times.
Technically 3.
It just feels like not enough times. Like he defeats him. He defeats him by mud.
You should fight him more than 3 times.
Well,
we gotta get home at the end of the day. Okay?
I'm dreaming of a movie that is just about Sandman. Like that's why there's just something about
but you mean fighting Spider-Man or just fighting in general?
I don't know. I guess
I could be fine with fighting Spider-Man 3 times.
3 times is a good amount of times.
But fighting a little bit more than 3 times in general as he's learning himself.
I guess I want him to associate with Sandman at the end of the movie, not Harry. Maybe that's where I'm having troubles with it. It's like he's fighting Venom, and him and Brock do have like a thing, but wouldn't you think the Uncle Ben's killer would be more emotional for him to fight him?
Yes.
You know?
But by the time he comes to terms with that, he's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. No, for it to end on Brock, it feels cheap.
I'm unsatisfied with. I think the 2 scenes where he's fighting Sandman, I think are actually like pretty great action scenes, but I'm just unsatisfied by them.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the climax of the movie doesn't really focus on him, Sandman and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's more this guy that's been shoehorned in at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Avi Arad.
Yeah, I mean, you could have, you could even twist it to where, let's say, okay, so no Venom.
Uh-huh.
And Sandman's same Sandman. Like, his motivations are all the same. And, like, Peter learns that. And the Sandman tells him, like, hasn't there ever been something in your life that you wish you could have done something about?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll never get it back if you never do anything about it, no matter what it costs.
Yeah.
And that reminds him of Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And he'll always regret and feel guilty for what happened to Uncle Ben. But his thing is like, but he is like responsible for that guy's death.
Yeah.
The thief.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I understand, but that's not right what you're doing, which is like killing people, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get there.
Much better. Much better. I like that. Harry wakes up. He says that those were his friends and he'd give his life for them. And this is the beginning of him being very strange. Yeah. There's a scene in this movie where Peter Parker goes over to Harry's house, brings over a basketball, and they dribble a basketball around the mansion.
And I hate it when you make actors be athletic.
Yeah.
When they are so... because oftentimes they're not.
Yeah.
Because they did not grow up playing basketball. They grew up
acting they played basketball.
Or I don't know, like you can just tell that they never played basketball. Or they never played basketball beyond the YMCA league.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to watch for some reason.
I know. I mean, these are the nerds. It makes me
embarrassed.
They are the nerds,
so I will give them that. But it's just I know I can't be the only person.
No.
It makes me feel
when I saw the basketball, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, like watching Tom Cruise throw that football
and the baseball
or
no.
It's just a football.
A Few Good Men. Remember, he was hitting baseballs at the beginning of the movie, and it's like, dude, I can't
watch it. I can't watch it. Yeah, it makes me so uncomfortable.
Although slicing is a golf term, can you slice in baseball?
Well, if you're saying that and you're referencing golf, that would be bad.
Yeah, I'm referencing it in baseball as bad too, but I don't know. Anyway, he's not hitting the ball well. I couldn't play baseball in a movie either. So, me, I guess I'm just as good as Tom Cruise. So then we have a scene that I think is really great, where Mary Jane has been fired from the production, and the reviews are in to her show. And so she is struggling with this, like, Peter's on the upswing, everybody loves him. She's on the downswing, everybody doesn't love her. She's like a Chris, and he's like a Raymond. Everybody hates Chris, everybody loves Raymond.
How long have you been waiting to do that one?
Just popped into my head.
Okay.
So then she goes to his apartment, and they're talking for a little bit, and
he's just being like, "It'll be fine. It's just a review. You can't just dwell on what people say."
And he doesn't know she's been
that she hasn't yet.
Fired.
Not since this review.
Yeah.
When this review happens, but
you're right.
He's like, look at me. Everyone's saying great things about me, but no. He's like all these. I had so many basically bad reviews about Spider-Man. But I just had to stop listening to them and not worry about it. And she is basically like, it's not about you, it's about me, which I do. I think at the time, like, I could see myself years ago watching this and be like, oh, Mary Jane's so annoying. But it's like, no, I get it.
Yeah, she just needs a shoulder.
She's not being annoying. Like, she just needs him to say, this sucks and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to be Mr. Positive because he's feeling so good about himself.
Yeah.
He's got the girl. He gets everyone loves Spider-Man, and he's a genius scientist.
Yeah.
But throughout this movie, it's like he's not thinking about other people.
Right.
Sometimes, though, to the point where I don't think that is what Peter would do. But
I agree.
Yeah.
But then I do like this little moment where the police scanner comes on and he looks at her and he goes, "Go get him, Tiger."
Yeah.
And then she's just like, "All right, see ya."
Yeah, but her look was like, "That's what you do. I get it."
Yeah, and this, I feel like that. Take out the love triangle and focus in on that feeling.
Oh, that is, you have so much meat.
That's the rest of the movie
on that,
and
so much.
Him having to, like, he wants to marry her, but he also has a Spider-Man thing. So then him being realistic, like, I want to marry you, but at the end of the day, Spider-Man will always come first because I'm so haunted by Uncle Ben's death that I will never get over it. Yeah. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
that's
the movie.
That's a movie, baby. Not her being like, I'm jealous because that girl's cute too. Yeah. Actually, I think her reaction. Actually, I shouldn't downplay her reactions.
Are all fair, but I do kind of know what you're.
Yeah,
almost,
it's
in a
more
way,
him acting out of character.
It cheapens.
Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah. But in some ways, like the question of her showing up at the window at the end of Spider-Man 2 is a better resolution to their relationship than anything they could have done.
Like, it shows it in that 2 seconds.
Yeah, that moment where it's like
this whole movie.
She left her wedding for him and he's going out as Spider-Man. And she has that feeling like The Graduate where it's like, what have I done?
Yeah.
And then you go, they're always going to struggle with that. And that just lingers in your head.
Yeah.
And this movie, it's like, how do you follow that up? Because that one look tells you the entire rest of their relationship. So, but I do like that. Then there's this scene with Gwen. Yeah.
But, okay, the modeling thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I hated that so much. You could have been on a million other things that wasn't that. And I just thought it was so stupid. Do you think it's stupid?
Oh yeah, I was like, what? She's a model? Like, what?
So she's like, they've made it very clear that she's like super smart at science and stuff too. Also, you've read Gwen Stacy stuff. I have not.
Yeah.
But these movies are just, they've done so well with, like, Mary Jane has a lot to do.
Yeah.
Aunt May has a lot to do.
Yeah.
It's the 2 women we have in this series.
Yeah.
And then we have a third in this movie, and she's like, she is the police chief's daughter. She is good at science and everything, but she's really getting started as a model. And some weird, like, office setting modeling that's like, this is porn, right?
Well, it didn't feel like that.
But like, what is she modeling for? She's sitting on a copier with cleavage, Micah.
Yeah, that's not porn, Jordan.
No, I know it's not. But it's like, what are they doing this for?
Yeah, selling a couple of printers. Got to sell the fax machine.
I didn't like it.
No, I didn't like it either.
It smelled bad.
That's a bit dramatic though.
Well, that's how it felt as a woman to watch that, and it was disappointing.
No, I agree with that point for sure. It's silly, and it's like already you have Mary Jane, and in this series they didn't make her a model, which I like, but in like the comics, she becomes a model and stuff, and it's like we don't need him like only hooking up with models. Like, come on, he's a nerd. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's just like, I guess the daydream, the fantasy of the people writing it are like,
of course, I know.
So yeah, it's silly, and there's this big crane sequence, and we get introduced to Eddie Brock here, who introduces himself to Captain Stacy in a very funny way. I liked that.
Yeah, I do too. He says he's dating his daughter.
Yeah. And then
Spider-Man saves Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
Saves the day.
Yeah. And then we cut to the Daily Bugle. We see our lovely Mr. J. Jonah Jameson, and he is on blood pressure medication.
Ted Raimi is trying to sell him like the new face of the Daily Bugle.
Yeah. It's now, it's wow, and something else.
I did that part.
Yeah. And he's trying not to freak out
what does he say?
Because he has blood pressure.
But like he gets to one of the other words. He's like, it's wow, it's now. Ted from Yada Yada came up with that one. You get a couple espressos in that guy, and he really goes crazy. But yeah, he's on a ton of medication now from all of the stress.
Yeah, and Betty Brant keeps on like buzzing him about which is making it worse. It's very funny.
Very funny.
I mean, that's the juice right there.
there.
I love that. And so that's when Eddie Brock comes in.
And he's the new photographer for Spider-Man, is what he's claiming. And give me a job here.
Yeah. And so then he assigns him, like, catch Spider-Man in the act, and you have a staff job.
Yeah. Catch his hand in the cookie jar is what he tells Peter and Eddie Brock. Whoever can get that to me gets the job.
Yeah. And then we meet Stan Lee. We have a really nice Stan Lee cameo.
It's very sweet.
And all of these more personal and, like, cute ones are way better now that he's passed.
Yeah.
Because I think he sees...
like a billboard?
Billboard of Spider-Man, and he stands next to Peter, and he says, I guess one person really can make a difference. And then he says a classic Stan Lee. He goes, "Nuff said," and walks away. And I'm like, you could actually go through our podcast and look at how many descriptions of this podcast I've made where I've said like a couple things about the movie, and then I just wrote "Nuff said." So yeah. And if you haven't rated or reviewed our podcast, go on Apple and
just say "Nuff said."
Say "Nuff said," and I'll remember that one. I will remember that one. And also on Patreon, we have our episode on probably Top Gun. So go download that. Get us to 2 million patrons by the end of the year. If we hit 2 million patrons, I will buy you a cup of coffee. You just got to ask me.
2 million patrons?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have enough.
I'll buy you a cup of coffee too.
Yeah. So get us there so that we can do this 100% of the time. Then we have Franco and basketball. We talked about that. Then we have the Spider-Man parade, and Peter kisses Gwen, which is just not something he would do.
I hate that. Yeah,
It's silly.
That does not feel like Peter.
And for him to think that like MJ would be upset
Mary Jane,
or not upset, yeah.
That is so like, sure, he's really got rose-colored glasses on right now because everything's going well.
Yeah.
But he's not an imbecile.
Yeah. No, it's
so bad.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I also don't think the crowd would be like chanting like kiss her, kiss her.
No one knows what this kiss is. No one's seen this kiss before.
Yeah.
So yeah. So and by this time Mary Jane has been fired from the play.
Yeah.
But has not told Peter, but just now tells Harry.
Yes.
Because they kind of start confiding in each other and stuff.
Yeah. And this starts another thing that I don't like about this movie.
Her and Harry.
Yeah.
I would if you felt
Oh wait,
like
no, actually I was getting confused with something else. Never mind.
If you felt like you needed a love triangle, I am way more into the Harry one than the Gwen Stacy one. Don't even put Gwen Stacy in this movie. We don't need her.
Yeah.
The Harry one's more interesting. I don't know how that would work out.
I agree.
Like,
I agree is what I said.
Because you could even do it where he doesn't have the memory loss. He's taken the serum, but at this point in the movie, we still have not seen him as Green Goblin.
Yep.
And he's much more conniving now.
Yeah.
Still, like, probably still doesn't like Peter and doesn't want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
But he's around. And Mary Jane confides in him because they are friends. And eventually down the road, like, he'll reveal to her, like, he killed my father.
Yeah.
And what are you, like, you're going to be with someone who killed someone? And it's like, what's the fallout of that?
Yeah.
Where she's already, like, having second thoughts about the relationship.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed is that this movie feels weirdly edited, like, in the dialogue.
Okay.
I felt like there's too much space.
Oh, okay.
I
don't really remember.
And I remember Harry and MJ talking. It was like, what? It felt to me...
Felt like they had no chemistry.
Well, it felt like, and sorry to you David Lynch fans, it felt like we were watching Twin Peaks all of a sudden. Where I was like, oh, like, everyone's acting weird, and I don't know what's happening, and it feels like no one knows what's going on. So, just pointing that out. I wrote every scene is an exercise in excess. That's funny. So then we get to the restaurant scene. Bruce Campbell. This is funny too. In Roger Ebert's review, he's like, you have a problem with your main character when Bruce Campbell steals this entire scene, and it's like the emotional crux of the movie. Because he was talking about how boring Peter is in this movie. That was like a big part of his review.
That's that. Yeah,
but
definitely.
We just have like, Mary shows up there and he's going to propose to her and she's really upset. He's not listening. And then Gwen shows up and she's acting in a way that like no human being would act, where she's like, oh, it's your girlfriend. Let me just like lay my head on your shoulder basically and like kiss your cheeks while we're talking. It's like, oh, brother. It's so, love triangles can be good. This is not good.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And so of course she leaves.
It's funny that I don't really have a problem with Bryce Dallas Howard in this movie. I think she's like doing what she's supposed to be doing. But her performance compared to MJ's, because then when we get to Mary Jane, like after she leaves, she's just so like normal.
Yeah.
And Gwen Stacy is so like ditzy feeling.
Well, this one, funny enough, this one just feels so much more cartoonish in every way.
Yeah, down to, and I know that's what she looks like in the comics, but like she looks like a cartoon in this movie.
Yeah.
She looks weird.
Yeah. Also forgot to mention in the previous scene, him and Sandman meet and have a fight. It's pretty decent. I do like how they do that scene. That's fun. So then, after all of that, we have what I wrote, which is symbiote finally. It's gone for long enough that you almost forget it's in the movie. And I think that's when he, like wakes up on the building, which is cool. I think that was a lot of the advertising.
He wakes up on the building. Oh, yeah. Kind of like that Spider-Verse looking shot.
Yeah. And he's got the black costume. It's pretty cool. And then Sandman Mud attack. They have a big fight, and this he's in the black costume, and he intends and attempts to kill him.
Yeah. By then he finds out about Sandman.
Yeah, I just kind of skipped it because we've already done it.
Chief gets him and Aunt May in and says, "We found out that the guy who murdered your uncle is not the one that murdered your uncle. It was this man who was Sandman." And Peter goes off the rails. Yeah, and then I do like. So no, there's a couple more Aunt May scenes actually, but so that he has that altercation with Sandman, and believes that he's killed him. Then goes to Aunt May and says something Franco. Is that his name?
Flint Marco. Yeah.
Flint Marco is dead. Spider-Man killed him, and Aunt May said Spider-Man would not do that, or it's just like that's a shame that he would kill somebody. Yeah, and it's a shame that someone like revenge is. Like Uncle Ben would never.
He wouldn't want us to live a second with revenge in our hearts.
There you go.
I feel a little odd about this because I feel like in Spider-Man 2, she knows that Peter is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it feels like she doesn't.
Yeah.
Because if she found out her nephew killed someone, she would have a different reaction.
Yes. I agree with that.
I mean, they don't explicitly say it, but it feels so obvious in 2 that she knows,
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be nice if maybe she found out in this movie. Maybe that could be a nice thing.
What movie?
This movie.
Oh, this movie.
Because, she doesn't have enough to do.
Yeah, and maybe, well, because maybe you can do something with that where like the Sandman thing is happening still, and remember that whole like Sandman's like, wouldn't you do anything for the person you loved?
Yeah.
And Spider-Man, is like, I tried and I failed, or I'm guilty of it. And then Aunt May helps him. I don't know how, but with all that stuff where it's like Uncle Ben would never want revenge or would never try and do something that would harm another person, blah, blah. Something like that.
Yeah. I got a little lost, but
I know I'm really jumbling it up.
I bet that's great. So then there's the omelet with Harry and Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Kind of fun, kind of goofy.
Fun, but they do have weird chemistry.
Yeah. As in they don't have
really
chemistry.
Just James Franco. Kirsten Dunst is perfect.
He's really bad in this movie. I mean, really bad.
Yeah. I just don't think he's all there.
I really don't think so either.
Guy has memory loss, so
I
guess he's
not. And then MJ and Peter break up.
Because Harry told her to?
Yeah, this I don't really get.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Because it's like she was going to break up with him.
Well, it's never like, I just feel like that never works. When someone threatens, because he's threatening her with violence, but is like, if you don't break up with Harry, I'm going to kill him or kill you. And it's like, and then she just does it, and then it just worked. And then Peter walks away, and Harry's like,
I know.
Peter's like, you son of a bee. I don't know. It's just like so weird.
Well, then they have that great scene with Harry eating the pie, and he's like,
"That's right.
It's so good." And it's like, yeah, she's dating me. You know, I always loved her. You suck. I remember stuff now. And you're like, all right. I do love that they've shoehorned Willem Dafoe into all three of the movies. That makes me happy.
See, what if with the Green Goblin thing, if he had never had the memory loss and was like weaseling his way into breaking up the relationship, a big reveal for him to Mary Jane is he killed my father, and he proves it to her in his way. And he would think, because he's a villain, is like, and now you will love me because you do, right?
Yeah.
And she would say, no, I don't. And then that's how she gets like wrapped up into like, I'll show you. And then Spider-Man has to save her.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm just getting lost.
I'm just really trying to make a version that works.
I just I don't know. All the Harry stuff is pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of a redemption for it without just totally rewriting it.
Yeah, well, I am trying to rewrite it, Micah.
I know, but I think the room maybe is getting a little too warm for me.
I can tell.
Now one thing that's fun to talk about, not that the other stuff isn't, is that I was talking about this to you already, so you're gonna love that we're talking about this again, is that Batman is a great character, but we've done a lot of movies with Batman. I think about the same number of movies ish, if you include the Spider-Verse movies. I think, but they kind of keep going to the same well of villains. And Spider-Man, I was thinking about it because I was thinking like, you know, when they make another movie, who do I want to see? And I'm like, we've already covered like most of them in a way. Like most of like the all-timers have been covered. And that's just kind of awesome. Whereas it's not like, well, we got to do Joker again. Well, we got to do Riddler again.
At this point, what doing Joker feels like they are not confident in their source material.
Yeah. So
they have to tease having Joker just in case people don't like it. That's how the Joker is starting to feel.
It is. Yeah. No, it's crazy to have. And I absolve Nolan of this partially because I love Nolan and partially because that's the best Batman movie. But it is like, you know, you want to update the Joker once, that's fine. But then it's like, you're going to do him again in his own movie, and then you're going to do him again in Suicide Squad, and then you're going to do him again, hinted at, in another Batman movie. It's like,
come on. Make people hate anarchy because they're going to get so tired of him.
I know, and we love anarchy.
We love it.
Oh, are you talking about the villain?
No, but I would love them to do anarchy, which I've said many times.
And even like the Penguin came back, and I mean, even though this is anti what I said, I hope that since Gotham is covered in water, the next movie has Mr. Freeze in it.
I would like to see that, but we've only gotten that once.
Yeah,
I think the Mad Hatter would be fun.
Mad Hatter would be cool, but
have they done anything with that weird, really creepy guy that like all of the slashes on himself?
He was in Harley Quinn's fantabulous super long movie title movie. He was in that.
Oh,
he was like the right hand man of.
And I don't think that guy can carry that character can carry a movie, but somewhere
I think he could because it's
just because of the
detective.
Nature of the
you know he's got to solve this crime of the serial killer.
I mean, he's kind of like perfectly suited for this Matt Reeves world.
Absolutely. But it's just interesting that like we're saying that and we're repeating villains. We're even asking for some villains that have been in there. And Spider-Man, it's like we've gotten like over 10 main Spider-Man villains without, and there's some repeats, but kind of only like Goblin.
Yeah.
And there's just so many different versions of Goblin. It's like they're doing different versions of that. So it's pretty cool, and I like that. I would love to see, and I'm not going to include the Sony Spider-Verse movies, Spider-Man movies. I would love to see Kraven the Hunter. I think that would be cool. And he's like one of the last remaining original like Steve Ditko guys.
I mean, your wish will be granted.
No, I'm not counting that. I don't want to see a movie of a villain without the hero. It's the yin and yang. I don't want to see just yin. I don't want to see just yang. I want to see them both. I want to
see after yang.
That's another reason why I don't really like Joker. It's like you just got the one guy. I want both.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, Eddie gets fired because he photoshops a picture of Spider-Man. And it's a little funny to me that Eddie is so mad at him for like ruining his life for this reason, because it's like, you are he should have pointed out that you like, if a journalist is lying,
he's no journalism integrity.
like he needs to be fired. Anyway.
Well, I think that part of the problem is the movie has way too many cooks, so it's just we don't have enough time to like
for him to stew on it.
Yeah.
And then we have the famous scene of him dancing emo style. Here's the thing, folks. I think it's been dunked on a lot. I like this scene. I think it's a funny scene. One? The emo scene where he's pointing at all the girls.
This was a scene we would rewind. We thought it was so funny.
And I think people have laughed at the scene, not realizing that the scene is clearly laughing at Peter as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Like, when he's passing by women, they're looking at him like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, no one who made this movie was like, isn't he cool in this scene? So if that's your reaction to it, I think maybe you don't get the scene, because it's clearly just joking around, and we're dunking on him for thinking he's such hot stuff.
Tobey Maguire, hot or not?
Not. He's too. But he's a good looking guy. Like he's not hard to look at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I almost just listed off an example of someone who's hard to look at, but that's too mean.
That's only for conversations between you and me off mic.
Yeah. Then we have this scene that I think is the worst scene of the entire series by a long shot, and that is him at the jazz club bringing Gwen there.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about this scene.
Upstaging Mary Jane.
It is so weird. And what does he say? And it like cuts to his lips. And what does he whisper?
He says, now dig on this.
Oh my god.
It is like, whoa, that is so crazy.
It's not good. It's really not good.
Oh man, I got some bad news about Jake Gyllenhaal.
What?
He's doing a streaming show on Apple Plus now.
Well, so is everyone else. What is it?
It's something about being a juror or something like that. Jake Gyllenhaal stars in this gripping legal thriller. It's actually
a legal thriller.
I do love a legal thriller. Do I want a 10-hour legal thriller?
No. What's it called?
It's called Presumed Innocent.
But found guilty.
But it's just too bad. Come on, movie stars, get out of TV.
I said it's not action. Kind of tired of it in action.
Glenn Powell, we love you. Love Hitman. You are a movie star. Don't do a TV show. Unless you're doing comedy cameos. Those are fine. Cooper, you better stay off TV.
He's never been on TV.
Not really. Yeah, Tom Cruise,
cameos.
You're good. You're not ever going to go on TV. Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya, you guys are movie stars.
They're not. There's no way. They will not. No.
TV.
They're way too big. Anya would never do that.
Florence Pugh
would never do that.
Well, Florence Pugh is
Austin
in TV.
Butler's
Marvel.
Not doing that. Oh,
She's
that's true. Do you think that Marvel's a little bit different? I think Marvel thinks it's a little bit different.
Although I will say, I think if you're in a Marvel project now, I think the chances of you being a movie star.
But by the time she signed on for it, different.
I know. She's a hostage.
She's trapped.
Now. Austin Butler, stay off TV. Although he was in a Steven Spielberg show.
Yeah, historical World War II show.
You can't say no to Spielberg, but I want these people. We're about to enter the cusp of movie stars carry the movies, not superheroes, not capes, and so stay out of TV, folks. Okay.
I mean, what did Robert Downey Jr. do right after winning an Oscar?
He was on TV.
Yeah.
And that's all I had to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say. Movie star, hasn't been on TV. Tom Hanks.
Besides SNL.
Yeah, well, I know. SNL.
Comedy cameos, as we said, were okay.
Ryan Gosling, stay off of TV.
I think he was on something when he was younger. He was on some Nickelodeon
No, that's fine. I'm saying now that these people are at the height of their powers.
Status. Okay.
Like, don't fall for them saying, hey, you can do this 10-episode series. It's limited. No, don't do it.
As we've discussed, I think maybe even in the last episode, or was it in our 2049 episode?
Yeah.
We were talking about Jake and how we're disappointed in the trajectory of his career.
Yeah, we are. But this makes sense for him. But and
unfortunately, I wish it didn't.
It's a hot opinion, and there are exceptions to the rule. But on the whole, Come on. Movies are way better than TV, and movie stars are way more famous than TV stars.
I don't think anyone now who's getting an Apple Plus TV deal can feel excited about it when it's going to be put next to that Ben Franklin show.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So then MJ gets taken as a hostage for a third time in the series.
Yeah.
For the finale. Don't like that.
Yeah.
That's silly. And then we have the big fight scene at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of a boring fight.
It's kind of boring. Feels somewhat anticlimactic. Although Harry or Green Goblin does show up to help.
Yeah, after
Peter?
he asks him to, which is nice.
That's right. Yeah, to help MJ.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. It's just, I just don't like the Green Goblin stuff.
Well, and I forgot to mention, Toby blows up Harry's face.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. It's just some of those things. It's I know he is mad with power and the symbiote's driving him crazy, but it does feel out of place with his character.
It does. For what they've worked so hard on in the first two movies.
Yeah. Not that he's
not
infallible.
That you can't do stuff like that. Yeah, he's not perfect, but
for him to throw because that bomb should have killed him.
Yes.
So it's he had every intent.
Next to his face. It's kind of a cool shot.
Oh, it's very cool, but it's he should have attempted to stop the bomb or something. I don't know.
Done it out of anger, because he's got Venom. He's got
the symbiote.
But as it's happening, he notices and realizes and snaps to and tries. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that I don't really love. And then as a kid, I always hated that Topher Grace's face was shown so much as Venom, and we didn't get more Venom face. And I still feel that way. It's come on, show me Venom. I want to see Venom.
I think it's for the fun teeth.
Yeah, and that fun makeup that goes up his face.
I think it all looks good on him the whole time.
Yeah, no, it does. But I still want the
I understand
cool Venom face,
I understand what you're saying. I do not remember Venom face at all.
Yeah.
But also, the last time I saw this movie, I don't think there was a Venom movie. So I didn't know anything about Venom.
Yeah, there is a little RVF. Resting Venom face.
Okay.
That one's for
I didn't remember
maybe one person.
Full-on Venom conversation between him and Sandman. I did not remember that.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been since I've seen
Let's team up. Yeah. But yeah, big final battle, and then things kind of just work out between him and MJ. It feels like it's gone too far.
Do you think it does work out with him and MJ?
Isn't that how it ends? They're okay, we're fine.
Okay, what is the last shot of this movie?
I don't remember.
See, because is it just them up on the skyscraper and Harry dies?
Oh yeah, Harry dies. Yeah. Let me look it up while you.
He uses sound stuff to get Venom to come off of Brock, and he throws a pumpkin bomb in there, right? But Brock jumps back in at the last second. And is like, no, I need the hate and the anger, and he dies. And then Sandman.
Yeah, Peter loses
Sandman
Harry.
Doesn't die, does he?
He forgives the Sandman and lets him go. Oh, so that does happen.
Yeah, Sandman just drifts away in the wind.
Oh, so what I said they should have done, they did do in the movie.
But do they do that before or after Eddie Brock? They probably do it after. This is the fallout.
No, and then while annihilating the Venom symbiote is intentional, the host of Eddie Brock is a collateral damage. So silly me.
But then the Sandman thing happens after?
I don't know.
Oh. I want to say yes.
And then I don't know what the last shot of the movie is.
Yeah, he says he forgives him.
Yeah, so that's funny because there's probably people who watch the movie and then listen to this podcast and are like, Micah, you are pitching what the movie did. You're an idiot. So here I am, and I admit that. I'm sorry.
Very big of you.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've said what we need to say about the movie, right?
But that's the last shot, right? We don't actually see him and Mary Jane be together again.
I really don't know.
You just looked up the synopsis.
I know, but by the way it was set up, I don't know.
Okay.
You know how it is sometimes when you try to look something up, and you're going for it, huh?
Yes.
Well, here's the deal. We thank you for listening. We urge you to sign up for Patreon to have some extra fun each month. And then, we have our new schedule now where we take 1 week off in between series. So next week, there will not be a series. But then after that, do you want to announce the new series,
This is the
Jordan?
last shot of the movie.
You're not Talia.
They attend Harry's funeral along with Aunt May.
Oh, that's right.
Who's Bernard? Oh, the...
It's me, Bernard.
A few days. I also thought it was just a note that it was weird that Gwen Stacy was there.
Yeah, she didn't even know Harry.
No. A few days later, Peter walks into the jazz bar where Mary Jane is singing. They embrace, begin to dance, and begin to reconcile their relationship.
Yeah. I just don't know that they would be able to reconcile that.
I don't
know. But having said all of that about Spider-Man 3, I do think it's okay. Like I think you could argue this movie's a 7. I think it's closer to a 5.
Yeah.
But on a different day, I might think it's a 6. You know what I mean? Like, this is no, like, Thor the Dark World.
No.
This is no, like, the Marvels. You know, there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot to really love about it. I think we were mostly negative, but, like, the effects, as far as Sandman goes, and Venom are pretty incredible. There are some really great performances. It's just an imbalanced story. And I think it's almost more frustrating that it's so imbalanced because it's like you can see what it could be.
Yes.
So, and you have the huge hype of Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 1. But having said that, give it to him. Let him do Spider-Man 4. I will be there immediately. That would be awesome.
Our next series.
Yes, our next series
is Apu.
Yes, the Apu trilogy. Now, you might be saying to yourself, what is that? I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you.
It's in the Criterion Collection.
Yes, the Apu trilogy comprises 3 Indian Bengali language drama films directed by Satyajit Ray, and it's Pathar Panchali, Aparajito, and The World of Apu. So they're based on a couple of novels, and they were on a shoestring budget. These are like...
They're a little like guerrilla filming.
Yeah, and Jordan and I have not seen any. We bought the Criterion Blu-ray collection.
We, in the last couple years, have fallen in love with Indian cinema.
Yeah.
So,
and this one, I think, is going to be
very different.
I think this is going to be very different from the Indian movies we've seen.
And I'm excited for that.
And these are from the 50s.
Yeah.
I think it's like 50, 50, and 60. The decades, not the actual year it came out. But, you know, a lot of times when we do series that are less mainstream, people don't listen, and that's fine. But I'd urge you to, you know, expand your horizons a little bit, and let's watch it together and let's see what it's like.
And if you are like, thanks guys, but still I'm not super into it, then we have to give you an assignment to make up for it.
Okay.
And you do have to watch RRR if you have not yet watched it.
That is true. And that you will thank us for that.
It's on Netflix, so there's no excuses. It is, ask anybody who's seen it, one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah.
Period. And it came out only a few years ago.
2, I think. Maybe 3. No, I think 2. Yeah,
and
2 years ago.
Thank us later.
Yeah, because you will have the time of your life.
You will.
That is one of the most confident movie recommendations I could ever do.
Yeah.
I haven't told my parents to watch that movie, but I am confident that both of them would love it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think your parents would love it.
We showed it to our friends, and
yet that can be scary sometimes.
It can be scary sometimes, especially when it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
But everyone was fist pumping and cheering.
By the end of the movie, they were like,
we had heard that movie was getting that reaction in theaters.
Yeah.
So we're just watching it at our friend's house and just genuinely getting this reaction from people.
Yeah. And the best thing that could have ever happened is then there were friends from California a couple months later that were here, and one of the friends that we showed it to was like desperately trying to watch that movie with them that night. And so I was like, wow, he really like loves this. We gave him this. We did okay. So thanks for listening. Enjoy your week off. Watch something non-franchise and then come back
like
refreshed.
RRR.
Yeah, there you go. And thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.